The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I present the Prime Minister's statement.
That paper is published under the authority of the House and copies are available on the table. I call on the government order of the day. One moment.
Debate on the Prime Minister's statement.
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I move that this House express its confidence in the National-led government and commend its program for 2013 as set out in the Prime Minister's statement to Parliament. Well, Mr. Speaker, what a good strong start it's been for the National-led government, hasn't it? What a cracker of a start. Full of energy and full of new ideas. Ready here to continue the 4 years of solid work and progress we've seen in the past. Mr. Speaker, it's not even February. We've had a cabinet reshuffle, 14,000 new apprentices to be hired over the next 5 years under a new program of New Zealand apprenticeships, warrant of fitness changes that will support every New Zealander around the country. Positive movement in the Crown accounts, Mr. Speaker. Business confidence is up. No wonder the first political poll of the year has seen National on the rise, Mr. Speaker. But, Mr. Speaker, then there's Labor. Some things just stay the same, don't they? And let's be honest, David Cunliffe remains about as popular in the Labor caucus as a pussycat at Gareth Morgan's house. So here's a bit of fresh thinking and new ideas for Mr. Shearer. Get Mr. Cunliffe a bell. At least next time you'll see him coming when the coup comes, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, as for Mr. Shearer, well, he had 6 weeks on the beach, didn't he? 6 weeks we didn't hear a peep out of him. And I'm tempted to say when he came back there wasn't one single idea, not one. But actually, wait, there was an idea. The idea was that their harebrained idea they'd announced 3 months ago that they were going to build New Zealanders a 4-bedroom home in Auckland for under $300,000 was a con. That's what it was. And he worked it out, Mr. Speaker. So anyway, rest assured, nothing to worry about for Labor though, because I read in the paper this week that now Mr. Shearer is a man of style. It's style over substance, apparently. Mind you, when you have no policies and you have no ideas and for 6 weeks of thinking on the beach you can't come up with anything, then reading an auto cue to the party faithful in Wainuiomata on Sunday afternoon is style, and no wonder you get points for it. Mr. Speaker, I am a little surprised, though, that they didn't have a theme song, or these days, actually David Shearer's theme song. They should have piped him in to Talking Heads' favourite little number, Burning Down the House, because that is exactly what happened to the $300,000 house that was never going to be built. Mr. Speaker, Talking Heads are right when it comes to Labor and the Greens. Talking Heads, that's what they do. They do that well. They talk. But when it comes to solutions, when it comes to action, and when it comes to results, it's the National-led government that delivers that for New Zealanders. So, Mr. Speaker, let's start with the international environment. Let's put a bit of context on what we faced in 2013. Those situations that the world faces continue to be difficult. So yes, the fiscal cliff has not been resolved for the United States, Mr. Speaker. That has been pushed another 7 weeks into the future, or another couple of months into the future, but that issue has not been resolved. Mr. Speaker, when it comes to European growth, that remains weak and will, in all probability, remain weak. When it comes to global growth, that remains weak, and we saw the IMF downgrading global growth in the papers just a few days ago. But New Zealand remains strong, and New Zealand looks to grow at about 2.5%, Mr. Speaker, according to Treasury and the Reserve Bank, stronger than the entire Euro area, stronger than the United Kingdom, stronger than Japan, and stronger than Canada. And out of adversity comes opportunity. So as we look to Christchurch, that is an area where $30 billion will be spent over the course of the next few years, likely to add about 0.7% of GDP. Mr. Mr. Speaker, on this side of the House where we have ideas and where we have plans and where big successes and just not stumbling over the auto queue, we have 4 key priorities. Number 1, responsibly managing the government's finances. That means living within your means. That means New Zealand earning a living. That means being sensible with taxpayers' money. Secondly, Mr. Speaker, building a more competitive and productive economy so that New Zealand businesses can flourish and grow and hire people from one end of the country to the other. Mr. Speaker, it's about delivering better public services so that those services that New Zealanders rely on can be in better shape for them. And finally, it's about supporting the rebuild of Christchurch. This government, Mr. Speaker, has done what no other government before it has done, and that is set firm, measurable results. That means actually measuring up for the things that are important to New Zealand and being accountable for them. And we have 10 challenges we have identified, and they are serious challenges that previous governments, including the 9-year Labor government, hopelessly failed on. And that includes reducing the number of long-term beneficiaries in New Zealand. That is about increasing and caring about the kids in New Zealand to make sure they're in early childhood education, or they have rheumatic fever programs available to them, or they are immunised, Mr. Speaker. It's about making sure that more youngsters get NCEA level 2. It's about reducing crime, even though this government has delivered a 30-year low in the crime rate in this country. And it is about embracing the digital world. So, Mr. Speaker, let's go back to getting back to surplus, because on this side of the House, we know that when it comes to spending, Labor and the Greens are the Usain Bolt of spending. They are the world champions when it comes to spending. Nothing has changed, and they'll continue, given half a chance, to do it again. They can't help themselves. Every time they open their mouth, they either get it wrong or they spend money they don't have. That's the only answers they've got. This is a government that actually has New Zealand on track to get back to surplus. And that's something to be proud of. It takes responsible management, and it actually takes trade-offs, and it takes sticking to modest spending allowances, and it takes making tough decisions. But all of those things are important for the future growth of our country, and all of those things about responsible spending programs are absolutely necessary if we are not going to laden up a future generation of New Zealanders with more and more debt. And we look around the world and we can see plenty of examples of countries who want to follow the Labor Green prescription to their economy. Plenty of them. And now they can't afford the things they want. Now they are up to their eyeballs in debt. And make no mistake, it would be no different. And if Russell Norman thinks that printing money is the answer to New Zealand's problems, then that just shows you how out of touch they are with everyday New Zealanders who have been saving like this government, Mr. Speaker. Secondly, Mr. Speaker, we are committed to building new assets in this country without debt. And subject to the Supreme Court ruling, of course, in a few days' time, the mixed ownership model program is on track for 2013, Mr. Speaker. And that will see New Zealanders with an opportunity to invest in important assets. That will see a deepening of the capital markets, and it will see an improvement in oversight for those companies. Mr. Speaker, we are committed to continuing to improve the productivity and efficiency of the economy. And again, I go back to the plan that was rolled out last year, the 6 pillars of business growth that are working. So let's just have a look at how they're working, because yesterday, in the charade that was organised by the Labor Party and the Greens and New Zealand First, Hamilton Jet actually turned up and said, yeah, high exchange rates hurting their business. Well, that's true. High exchange rates in countries from Australia to Brazil, right around the world, do get affected when the exchange rates go up, and that is an issue that New Zealand businesses have had to contend with as well. But this is the interesting bit. This is what Hamilton Jet told them that they didn't want to tell the public, that they could survive with a New Zealand-US exchange rate of 75 cents. Why is that? because this is a government that's undertaken tax reform in the last 4 years, labour market reform in the last 4 years, RMA reform. This is a government that's tackled local government, it's tackled the size of spending in central government, it's got on top of red tape and signed more trade deals, and it's listened to business. Mr Speaker, yes, the exchange rate is high, but what would happen under a Labor government? This is the answer. More debt, more spending, interest rates up, more bureaucracy, more red tape. You never find the words less bureaucracy, less red tape, reform of the important parts of the economy coming from Labor and the Greens. What you hear of is more spending and more pressure on those businesses, Mr Speaker. Innovation is critically important to our economy. This government does something about it. The Callaghan Innovation Centre being rolled out in 3 centres across the country in 2013, in Auckland, obviously in the Hutt and in Christchurch. The national science challenges will demand answers and give answers to the critical issues that our businesses face. More university funding, a government that's been putting money into the Primary Growth Partnership and the Global Greenhouse Gas Alliance. That's what happens under innovation and science when it's appropriately funded and properly looked after. Mr Speaker, when it comes to training, this is a government that actually trains people as opposed to spending money and getting absolutely no results and wasting tens of thousands of dollars, millions of dollars of taxpayer monies. That's why on Friday I announced, along with Stephen Joyce, 14,000 additional apprenticeships over the next 4 or 5 years. Money and incentives for those who will sign up, $1,000 or $2,000 if they're into the construction sector, and for their employer to take them on, along with the 4,000 places that are in the Trade and Services Academies this year, or the 8,200 fees-free places in youth guarantees, or the 700 additional government-funded engineering places around the country. This is a government that wants to build infrastructure, Mr Speaker. That is not something you'll be hearing from Labor and the Greens. So yes, we've got a PPP starting in terms of my electorate in Hobsonville Primary School this year. We're going to have a prison built in Wirrie in the years ahead, and we're going to have $12 billion worth of roads built over the course of the next decade under a national-led government. And if you're in a car and there's a rush of blood to the head and Labor and the Greens do get there, you better like your radio station, because you'll spend a long time in a traffic jam, because the first thing that'll be gone with those people are the roads. You'll be on a road to nowhere with a car not moving. You need to build infrastructure. Mr Speaker, ultra-fast broadband, we support it, they're opposed. 300,000 businesses and homes connected to ultra-fast broadband this year, 1,300 schools and 30 hospitals with fibre right to the gate. Labor says no, the National Party says yes. 100,000 rural homes, they don't care about them on the Labor side. They're going to be connected up with businesses with access to faster broadband. In 2013, we'll complete the digital switchover. And when it comes to infrastructure, $80 million announced last week to go into irrigation. Labor and Greens say they don't care, they don't want irrigation. Tell that to the farmers that were on TV in the Hawke's Bay last night and see what they think of that. And while we're at it, the Sky City Convention Centre, let's get that thing off the ground and going as well. Mr Speaker, when it comes to housing, that is not a new debate. I'm sorry, I hate to break it to David Shearer, but actually people have been worrying about housing ever since men moved out of caves years ago. And the thing that makes housing affordable in this country is what this government's doing. Keeping interest rates low, reforming the planning system, making sure that there are greenfield and brownfield developments, and that's it. They think it's a load of rubbish to have more land, have cheap interest rates, have a proper planning system, train more people. No, their answer is borrow money, promise you'll sell them a house for under 300 grand, and by the way, when they wake up, boofer, it's a one-bedroom bed sit in the CBD. Well, that's Labor for you. It's all an optical illusion, Mr Speaker. So, Mr Speaker, we will be clearing up those issues. Let's move to education. This is a government that cares about education. Well, if Labor want the fight on education? Bring it on, because this government has more kids getting NCEA Level 2, more kids in ECE, more Maori and Pacific kids achieving. This is a government that's not afraid to take on the digital challenges in the modern 21st century. This is a government that's not afraid to say national standards. Yes, of course, we want to measure, monitor and report to parents what kids are doing. And in 2013, we're committed to better results and better information, educating, making sure our parents have the information. You see, this is an interesting thing. Labor and the Greens, what do they say when it comes to air quality and water quality? They want to measure, monitor and report on it. But when it comes to kids' education, see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil. That's the problem, isn't it? That is the problem when it comes to that. Mr. Speaker, welfare reform, this year 3 new benefit categories, greater work obligations, building expectations. If you can work, you should work, Mr. Speaker. That is what is in the lifeblood of New Zealanders. When it comes to health, talk is cheap. We saw it from Labor for years. Lots of money, no delivery. This is the government. 30,000 additional elective surgical operations in the 4 years we've been there. More to come. More money for rheumatic fever programs. The rollout this year of the youth mental health program. More money for doctors and nurses. When it comes to delivery of the 59 Treaty of Waitangi settlements that have taken place, 33 have occurred already in the last 4 years under this government. What a busy government this has been. Mr. Speaker, I could go on. There is so much to talk about, but let's just get to this one final point. During the course of 2013, this busy, committed, well-structured national government will deliver lots of solutions to the country, and every single one of them will be opposed by Labor and the Greens, because this is the way it goes. Tax reform that delivered great change, incentives to New Zealand to get ahead, they opposed. Major roads in New Zealand so people would get around, their buses and cars and people would get there, they opposed. FTA with the United States of America worth $2 billion to our economy, Materia Ture, the Greens and Labor, they're opposed. RMA reform to make things go faster in this country, they're opposed. 90-day trial periods give young people a chance to get a job, they're opposed. Starting out wage, we introduced it, they're opposed. Work obligations for beneficiaries so it's fair for both everyone in the system, they're opposed. Oil and gas exploration so our kids don't have to go and work in Western Australia, they're opposed. National Convention Centre, they're opposed. Hobbit legislation, they're opposed. You see, they're opposed to everything because they only know one thing: spend money, chequebook activism, that's it. Out there to spend your money, but more importantly, spend your money that you don't have to promise you things that won't turn up. Under a national government, the $550,000 house will be delivered to you on time. A good economy and jobs and opportunities will be delivered. Under Labor, it is all one big optical illusion. No wonder David Cunliffe's out there getting a bell, because he needs to put it round his neck, because when they all wake up and realise what David Shearer said on Sunday was absolutely zippo, other than he got it wrong 3 months ago, boy, the knives will be out.
The question is that the motion be agreed to. The Leader of the Opposition.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.